Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why Luke Walton gave us another reason to be concerned about Lonzo Ball.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why LeBron cares so much about winning the MVP this year. Speak for yourself on a Thursday. Big NFL night.
Big NFL
starts
night.
now.
Huge game. Falcons, Saints. I love the Saints. All right, hello and welcome. We're joined today by a couple of NFL legends, Ray Lewis and Eric Dickerson. Let's start in Pittsburgh, guys, where the outrage over the Steelers-Bengals game continued yesterday, but this time it wasn't the announcers who were up in arms. It was Steelers safety Mike Mitchell who went off on those who have been criticizing the physicality of the game.
At the end of the day, this is football. If you want to see flag football, then let's take our pads off. That would make it easier for me because now I don't got to wear heavy. You know, I signed up to play full-speed contact football, and we're not doing that. I feel like I got to ask a guy, hey, are you ready for me to hit you right now before I hit you? I'm going to mess around and get hurt trying to protect an offensive player because he's running an over route. Damn it, your quarterback shouldn't have threw that ball messed up. If you don't want to get injured, then don't come out here. This is for real men. This is a man's game. Ray Lewis said that a couple years ago. I stand by that. It's a man's game. If you want to be a little kid, you don't want to get your ass hit, then don't come out here because this is for grown men.
All right, Cowherd.
I like that.
Mitchell, I think he's got a point. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think football is the ultimate meritocracy. We have a system, and I would compare it to the Navy SEALs. 1,000 guys will try out to the Navy SEALs, 140 will make it. They're trying to drown you, and if you can pass the test, then they'll give you the badge and you're a Navy SEAL. For the other 860, they fear that you couldn't handle it. This is what football does. You start at 8 years old, you play Pee-wee. 20% of the kids say, it hurts. Then you go to middle school football. Another 25% say, I'm scared, it hurts. You go to high school JV football, 20% peel off, it's too hard. In high school, another 30% peel off. Then a small percentage go to college, and they peel off. What is left with the Navy SEALs and what is left in the NFL are a group of men that mentally and physically are capable of combat. There's nobody in this league that doesn't want to be or can't handle it. The Navy SEALs don't put guys out there without preparation. They have earned every bit of it to be a Navy SEAL, and I totally agree with what he's saying.
Yeah, I think football has an identity crisis that Mike Mitchell's hitting on, that the players don't even understand. Hold on, what game are we playing here? We're actually the combatants, and we don't understand when a flag is thrown, what's a good hit, what's a bad hit. What do you want us to do? You can't go from 80 years of selling the physicality of the game to we're going to stop on a dime and now, oh, this physicality, it's gross, it's disgraceful, it's shameful. Football is a collision sport. The violence is part of the sell, no different than in boxing, than in UFC, really no different than the elements of hockey. People, whether we like it or not, like to see men compete in a violent fashion. That's what the game is. Should there be some restraints? Absolutely.
There are.
But don't run around and act like you're ashamed of this game and do what you did to the Steelers and the Bengals Monday night.
Well, first of all, I don't know what the word meritocracy means. I like that word you used. But I like that word. Yeah. Look, I just asked Ray this before when we started off. I said, when you're on the field, have you ever been afraid the first couple of plays? You're nervous. He said, because I never asked a defensive player. I was an offensive player. You're nervous as hell. I mean, you just shaking. He said, of course we're nervous. So you already got nerves going out there. Football, I'm an offensive player. It's a physical game. You know what you signed up for. You come out here to hit. I agree with one thing that Mike Mitchell said is that I'm going to get hurt. I've always said, they said, well, the guy's in the air and the quarterback threw the ball. I said, what you want to do? Him to stop and move the quarterback over? and then let him land? No, this game is physical. You're going to get hit in the mouth. It's going to hurt. If you don't like it, don't come out. Don't play football. I mean, and the players, like, they don't know what the rules are. When you're flying around, you're flying. You know, like, oh, I can't hit him in. I got to stop. It's physical.
This game is only in trouble if and when the players stop believing in the game.
Great point.
When the players stop loving this game, that's when the ratings will really drop.
Yeah.
Because the effort will soon stop. You walk in the meeting room, ED, and now you're no longer excited. to make a big hit. That's when we have a real problem with this game. You know, it's a lot of former players, it's a lot of coaches. It's almost sad how you can speak against the same game that brought you out of the places that you were in. It's one thing I'm not speaking against my players. When you know the sacrifice that it takes to step on this football field, 1% makes it. That's that cutoff point.
1% of college players.
So that cutoff point you talking about.
Yeah.
To be able to play this game, to be able to take our families from the hoods, to be able to sacrifice me having 9 surgeries, none of that is cute. But don't call my game embarrassing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what bothered me on Monday Night Football, and I think it bothered you, is that if John Gruden was still coaching, and I like John, he would have celebrated that hit by Juju Schuster after the game. That would have been celebrated in the locker room. Don't tell me it's grotesque. Like, we know television, people are playing to the cameras and they're playing to social media. But, you know, everybody now it's just very easy to say, this game's trouble. What's difficult is to say, this is the game we fell in love with.
Yeah.
The ratings on Monday Night Football were up 30%. I told you when I came in that day, that was the best second half of football I'd seen on Monday night in years.
Masculinity is under attack culturally. Not just football, but just masculinity.
That's a good point.
And so masculinity is what football has always been about.
And sold.
But it's what it's always been about. As a man, when you step out on that football field, it's like, you know what? There's a lot of places I can't let this side of me out, but here on this football field, I can. And now, again, I'm looking at Vontaze Burfict, who loves that masculine part of football, but he basically executed a flop on that Juju Smith hit. Because if you watch the hit, he immediately reaches up and goes after him, blah, 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 and then he I need a stretcher. And they say that, again, I'm not 1,000% sure, but they say he asked to come back into the game. And so I'm like, hold on, they're going to turn this into soccer. And people are going to start flopping around and faking hits. Ray and Edie, I know you remember this. The worst thing that could happen as a football player was, I need someone to help me off this field.
Oh, that's the worst thing.
Ain't no way. I'm going to limp, I'm going to drag, I'm going to crawl, but you're not going to help me off this field.
You ain't helping me off.
And now that's under attack.
Yeah. You know what? So understand this. This is, from day one, has always been a man's game. I grew up watching Eric Dickerson play football. I grew up watching Ronnie Lott. I grew up watching Lawrence Taylor. I grew up watching Derek Thomas. I grew up watching men who played the game one play at a time. And what I learned from them the most, honestly, if you step out here, you better be ready to deal with the consequences. It doesn't matter. And I'm telling the league this, and I'm telling everybody who's coming at this game, if you come at this game, you will never know what it feels like to walk in a man's shoes until you understand what this game represents.
And that's so true, because you hear these guys, man, I could have played, I could have did that. I said, man, you couldn't have did that. I'm telling you, that's faster than you think it is out there. I could have made it. They said, you can't make that tackle, dog. You know, you said this here too. People say, would you do it all over again? Would you play what you know now? I said, I'm from a little small town in Sealy, Texas, 2,000 people. For my mother, what I know now, for my mother, to get my mother out there and do what I did for my mom, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Wouldn't even think about it. I did it for her.
Welcome back, Ray Lewis, Eric Dickerson here. Let's move to Atlanta, where the Falcons host the Saints tonight in a matchup with huge implications for the NFC playoff picture. New Orleans is looking to cement their grasp on the NFC South. I think they will, while Matt Ryan and company are trying to catch up to the Seahawks, Panthers, who sit a game ahead of them in the wild card race. Whitlock, you trust Matty Ice to get the Falcons back into the playoffs?
Despite what was ever in that end bump, no, I don't. I'm jumping off the bandwagon slightly. This year, I'm blaming Steve Sarkisian, the new offensive coordinator. It hasn't worked that well. I believe the Falcons are for real. I think the young DB, Lattimore, is coming back tonight. I expect the Saints to win this game. last week they played the Vikings. That's one of the best defenses in the league. Their offense will be better tonight, but I don't think it'll be good enough.
Well, I think Atlanta's going to win tonight close.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but then I think they're going to lose a couple down the stretch. Matt is as good as his help. I've said this before. He is a better version of Andy Dalton. He's had better coaches. He's had better players. And I think he is better than Andy Dalton. But Tom Hanks is a movie star. Matt Ryan's a tremendous co-star or the world's best supporting actor. Is that Aaron Rodgers has shown, Brady has shown, I can win with an awful defense. Matt Ryan can't. Again, this is not a criticism of him. It is the reality of Matt. He is not a world-class athlete. He is not a world-class arm talent. He is a really, really, really great co-star supporting actor. He can't carry average. And I don't think Atlanta has as many good players right now as New Orleans, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. I think they'll win tonight, but won't win the division.
Well, I always had one problem. They're the Falcons. I just got to say it. When they went to the Super Bowl, I'm like, they're not going to win. They're the Falcons. I left the game at halftime. And they're like, oh, it's over. I say, it's the second half. They are the Falcons. I just hate to say they're the Falcons. And they just, they were always just that team that I almost got there.
Cincinnati Bengals have a feeling like that.
The Bungles, we call them the Bungles.
Yeah.
You know, Matt Ryan, he's a good quarterback. To me, I never thought him as a great quarterback. I thought last year he won the MVP. I thought that was Aaron Rodgers' MVP because, like I said, when you're talking about a guy, Aaron Rodgers, who has no help. He's got Julio Jones. He's got Freeman. He's got Coleman. He's got a running game. He's got Sanu. He's got a lot of weapons. I mean, so what's the excuse? So, I mean, they're the Falcons. That's all I got to say.
You know, when you watch Matt Ryan close enough, to go back to the Super Bowl last year, you actually, what's the problem with Matt Ryan? For me, it's actually taking over the game. So Matt Ryan believes he can throw himself in games and keep himself in games. Tom Brady proved that to Matt Ryan last year, that this is a chess match. It ain't checkers. You go to the fourth quarter of that game, Super Bowl. If you run Devontae Freeman or any one of your backs twice, three times,
it's over.
You go up by 11 with 3 minutes on the clock. You don't do that. You're Matty Ice. You're the MVP. The MVP has to override any decision that comes through that door that says we don't run the football. Because if you run the football, the Atlanta Falcons are right now celebrating the Super Bowl. Guess what they didn't do? They didn't run it. And guess who guess who hands they put the ball back in? And he don't have Julio Jones. And he don't have Sanu. But he went down the field doing what I thought Matt Ryan should have did.
By the way, this is Tony Gonzalez is friends with Matt Ryan.
Yep.
His criticism of him as a friend is he needs to be a stronger personality. It's not his arm and his feet. This is, like, listen, man, part of being great in this league at quarterback is that big chip on your shoulder. Big Ben didn't get recruited by the Buckeyes. Brady dropped in the draft. So did Montana. So did Wilson. Aaron Rodgers played junior college. Matt isn't angry enough. Yeah. He doesn't have that chip. I mean, I don't know his childhood, but there's just not that. Maybe he's too balanced. He's too normal. But he doesn't have that thing, that chip.
He's got to have an edge. And this is, we saw Tom Brady on the sideline showing his edge with Josh McDaniels. Look, even a Cam Newton, he's got an edge.
Yes.
He may go too far, but at some point, Cam Newton, no, I'm going to do it my way.
That's right.
And Matt Ryan is going, oh, that's what Sarkisian called? Oh, that's what Kyle Shanahan called?
For the record, who do I compare Matt to? Andy Dalton. Too nice. Ben's got an edge.
Oh, yeah, a big one.
Yeah.
Drew Brees, nice guy, but an assassin. Yeah, little guy. You know, everybody thought he was too little
to
play the position.
Yep.
Matt Ryan looks the part.
They're the Falcons.
Plays the part. We're joined by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard and the founder of The Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to the NBA, where Lonzo Ball continues to struggle his way through his rookie season, shooting just 34% from the field during the Lakers' 5-game losing streak. Lonzo has been dealing with a lot of off-court distractions, all year, but according to Coach Luke Walton, the rookie hasn't asked for much help.
We're here for Zoe when he needs us, and I think he knows that. Part of that is us building the trust with him, and I would expect if he wanted to talk about something, he'd feel comfortable talking to us about it.
So far, has he needed you? Has he had to do any of this?
No.
At any point?
Cowherd, are you concerned that Lonzo Ball hasn't reached out to Luke Walton and or anyone with the Lakers to discuss the issues?
Yeah, he's a quarterback. This is what point guards are. I've said this. Wide receivers can be nonverbal. Power forwards can be nonverbal. I need my quarterback and my point guard to run my team, run my franchise. LeBron can be a little passive-aggressive, but he's the best basketball player in the world. Lonzo's not close to that. Magic Johnson, MJ, Kobe, they attacked practice. They were verbal in games, practice, huddles. Go to a LeBron game. Yep. In the huddle, he's coaching. Lonzo is so aloof, so passive-aggressive. I think it's a major issue. What's Luke Walton saying when he says that?
He's asking the guy to come talk to me. He's trying to communicate through the media to Lonzo. Hey, come talk to us. We're the experts here. We know that you have a unique, close relationship with your dad and your family. And we know your dad thinks he's a basketball expert. But trust me, I'm Bill Walton's son. I'm the guy that coached under Steve Kerr at Golden State. We're the Los Angeles Lakers, probably the strongest brand in all of basketball. We have expertise here. What's really concerning to me is Luke Walton says we're working on building trust. And a lot of relationships, particularly that high in the draft and the position, the trust is given instantaneously based off of where we drafted you, and we haven't done anything wrong to you, so there should be trust, and then let people betray that trust before you back off. And so I think Luke is like, we got to build the trust with this guy. We understand he's really connected to his dad, but he needs to be more connected to his professional family at this point.
That's what Luke is saying. Look, we want to be more of an influence on you, particularly on your game, than your dad, all right? And he should be at the feet of Magic Johnson. You want to be the greatest point guard to play? You're right there with the greatest point guard ever. He should be learning from, especially since he's struggling. He should be seeking Magic out, trying to glean wisdom from him. The fact that he isn't is a problem. Now, verbally, the only point guard I can think of that wasn't that verbal that was great was Jason Kidd. But on the court, Kidd was a director. He wasn't talking all the time, but he would direct you where to go. Lonzo at least has to get to that point.
Yeah. See, this is what scares me, and you made a great point about Magic. He's in the room, right? The greatest point guard ever is in your backyard, and you're not talking to him. And I think, guys, this is about LeVar Ball. You said the word trust, I believe. Think about this. Lonzo has let his dad decide everything, basically, in his life, okay? His NBA agent, who picked it? LeVar Ball. It's like one of his friends. His AAU team, who coached him? LeVar Ball. Who set up his workouts? Who said, we're not going to Boston? LeVar Ball. The sneaker deal, LeVar Ball. Lonzo's never stood on his own. I think LeVar's actually instilled in him, trust nobody. It's us. It's family. We will figure it out. And now Lonzo's trying to stand on his own 2 feet in a locker room at 20 with grown men. He can't figure it out, and Dad's not here to help me. This is a scary situation for Lonzo.
I'll tell you, it's really easy to improve your shot. You don't take passive-aggressive people and make them passive or make them aggressive at 20. You go to a therapist. Man, I've had therapists. They say the same thing. Change is hard for people who want to change. Like, I can change your jumper. Maybe. I'm not changing your DNA. You lived with LeVar for 20 years. LeVar made all the decisions. You've been muted. Now I expect you to be Magic? I don't think that's happening.
I think all of us in our professional careers, in our personal lives, and then when I think about the great athletes, I don't know who. Kobe Bryant idolized Michael Jordan and was like a real student of the game. And there, amongst the great NBA players, there tends to be a great reverence for the players before them, that came before them and that were great. And so it does, Chris, your point of like, be at the feet of Magic Johnson. He has an opportunity to interact with Magic Johnson every day, and it doesn't sound like he's doing that. And when I sit here and think like, well, who did Michael Jordan? And like, he was very close, I think, to Dean Smith. That was kind of his mentor. again, you raise a child eventually to push him out of the nest.
You're supposed to.
And he needs to come up out of that nest.
Yeah. To another guy not getting much help, LeBron James, great again last night, 32, 11 boards, 9 assists, dragging an uninspiring Cavs roster to a franchise record, tying 13th straight W. Before the game, LeBron was his typical humble self.
I think people just grown accustomed of what I do, and it just gets taken for granted at times of what I do, and because I do it so often, and it's been a constant thing for so long. It's like, oh, that's what LeBron's supposed to do, so it looks easy, but it's not.
LeBron's kind of got a point. Been 5 years since he won the MVP. Last 2 years, he got one whole vote. You got a vote. Whitlock, do you think he cares about winning this year's MVP?
1,000%. It's Michael Jordan had 5 MVPs. LeBron can get his 5th. Listen, I think he makes a great point about being taken for granted. A lot of times when LeBron says this, it doesn't land with me right. This time it does land with me right. Right now, he's putting together perhaps his greatest season. And if he doesn't get rewarded with the MVP trophy for that, and I know James Harden's playing well and so are the Rockets, but LeBron's best season doesn't get an MVP, that sounds criminal.
Is it possible, all these guys, Magic, Michael, LeBron, they pick their spots, that LeBron, deep in the recesses of his mind, knows we ain't beating Golden State? So this year, his regular season does mean more, knowing he's going to lose again at the end. That we will say, as he loses the finals, 15th year he was the MVP. LeBron knows this game. They still don't have him. Jay Crowder maybe can get Durant, but is LeBron saying, listen, I know the end of this season. I'm going to own this regular season? Is it because all these guys picked
he didn't start out like that. He didn't start the season out, but obviously he's gotten going now. I'm going to add on to what you said because I think it makes some sense. I believe we know LeBron wants to be the GOAT. He said it. He's told me he wants to be the best player ever to play. He may realize I'm not catching Jordan with 6 rings.
Right.
Even if I get 6, I've lost 5, and I may lose more. So that's not the way. The way for me to either become the GOAT or at least muddy the conversation where some think, hey, some are like it's LeBron, some are like Jordan, is one, individual longevity. Longevity, 15th year. Jordan only played 15 years. His last 2 years were with Washington. He wasn't the best player in the world. He was injured for 2 or 1 year and then played baseball for most of another year. Jordan only had 11 seasons where he was Jordan. Yeah. LeBron is on his 15th, and it could be, 17, 18 like this? Yeah. So longevity and then the accumulation of stats. His numbers total are going to dwarf Jordan's. I think he feels like that's the way for me to become the GOAT. And one more thing, 15th year, he would be the first person ever to win MVP that late in their career.
I like the Jordan comparisons, guys. I'm going to start. When did this streak start, this winning streak and LeBron on a tear? When Kyrie Irving and the Celtics ended theirs. We just saw Kyrie. Remember, I was saying, he's the MVP. Kyrie's unbelievable.
You're not saying that
and
anymore,
LeBron, of course not. I can't say it anymore. LeBron says, you know what? I think I'm going to go get me an MVP. I'm going to show Kyrie, you don't leave me. You don't leave the GOAT. Who left Michael Jordan? Anybody? Who left Magic? Bird, Duncan. Nobody left those guys. Kyrie Irving left LeBron at the apex of his powers, and I think LeBron's saying, this is what you missed out on, okay? I'm going to go put up 28, 8 and 8, have my best career shooting ever. Kyrie, this is what you're missing out on.
It's really interesting that we've had these 2 massive winning streaks. And it's not just Boston and the Cavs playing Eastern teams. I was looking at the NBA standings this morning. The NBA's always had good teams at the top and some bad at the bottom. From about 6 to 20, we're going to have winning streaks this year for the good teams. Yeah. I don't remember a time. We've always had great and awful. We got about 17 to 18 teams in this league. The middle is soft. That's why we're getting these huge winning streaks. Guys, LeBron doesn't have Tristan or IT. Kyrie didn't have Gordon Hayward. We're getting these absurd, and by the way, I went and looked at their schedules. They're not just playing East. Boston and LeBron, they're playing Western teams. The middle of this league is doughy soft.
I don't believe LeBron, hopefully he's not doing this. He shouldn't just give up this season, though.
I completely agree.
Golden State does not look,
it ain't
we know they're the favorite. They should be. They don't look like they're a world beater like they have in the last few years. Now, maybe they're coasting. I don't know. Houston there are people in the league I've talked to now that think Houston is really going to give Golden State some problems.
Okay.
Well, Gordon's playing well.
Gordon's Chris Paul in the playoffs could be valuable because of his defense.
Because he's won a lot in the playoffs.
Chris, I completely. That was my thought as well. I don't think LeBron is giving up on the championship.
He shouldn't. Shame on him if he does.
I don't think that's ever in his DNA. In his mind, he is the greatest player and he's capable of anything. He's done it to Golden State before, down 3-1 and clowned him. He'll do it again. All right, welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to Kevin Durant, who put up a triple-double last night, leading the Steph Curry-less Warriors to a win over Charlotte. Cowherd, Steph will be out at least 2 weeks with an ankle injury. Do you think playing without him will make Kevin Durant even better?
Kevin Durant has been established as a great player. I don't think he's going to be better or worse. I do think it gives the Warriors an opportunity to play without Curry, which is an advantage if they go to the playoffs and lost him for a game or two, because Curry's been hurt multiple times in his career. But I don't think KD's suddenly going to make a leap as a player. I mean, we know what he is all these years in the league.
I watched that game last night. He looked like a little Ben Simmons who could shoot last night. He controlled the offense. He made everybody else on the Golden State better. They played without Draymond last night against Charlotte, and KD looked phenomenal.
Could it be Charlotte's bad?
No. KD looked phenomenal. He made damn near every shot in the first half. Then he started getting his teammates involved with the passing game, virtually playing the point guard at some points. I do think Kevin Durant will see this as a challenge. Remember, there were some times where people were arguing, hey, I think they're better when KD's out and Steph Curry can be the lead dog. I think Kevin Durant, look, we've seen it from Kyrie Irving. We're looking at it right now from LeBron James. These guys like to take their opportunities to show, hey, look, I can carry this team, and I can put us on our back and go on a streak. I think Kevin's going to use this opportunity to play at a really high level and make his case for MVP. This has been an interesting start to the NBA season.